But the fight's going to be not going to go past the third round. Unless it's a disqualification.
I think if it goes 5 or more, which I don't think it will go very many more, but I think if it goes 5 or more, then obviously Mayweather's going to take it. I don't think McGregor has the stamina for it. And Mayweather's been, I mean, his body is so used to going, training
just
for 12 round fights. Just the muscle memory will carry him through. Yeah. Absolutely. But I think that stance, I'm telling you right now, man, that stance, there's no way you can train for, you take all of those years that you're used to standing in the pocket and fighting with someone and then cutting angles and slipping and getting out and using your footwork. And then you take a guy who just stands in the middle of the ring in a martial arts stance, heavy on the rear leg, standing back, and is they're both counter fighters. They really are. They're both counter punchers. Mm-hmm. But Conor, man, when he throws that counter, you don't see it. It's not from the chin. It's totally unorthodox, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a hard.
Where do you want to bet this lunch at?
Anywhere you want.
Okay,
but I would like
to. We'll go doubles.
I don't. I don't have to get off the dollar menu this time, do I?
No.
Okay.
I'm a little bit scared just because I'm talking to someone that knows their shit right now. But at the same time, I just think the angle game and with the martial arts stance that you're saying. I think it's going to change him up because I don't think it's going to be disqualification because it's already been talked about. They said if anything even gets close to it, they're going to disqualify him.
No, but you know what? Connor's camp has already done all the research. They've got the referee that's come into their camp to work with them to tell them exactly what's good and what's not.
But where I'm going with that is Mayweather, he's going to be looking for that. And he's not going to his game has to change just a little bit. Because he's going to be looking for that takedown defense.
His game's got to change a hell of a lot. I'm telling you right now. And Connor's in his head.
I love you guys' enthusiasm. I mean, it's for naught, but I love it.
Well, let me switch it up just a little bit. I want to ask the young man in the room,
the one that's been talking so much.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you see? What do you see happening?
To be honest, Conor, he's a great fighter. He really is. He's unorthodox as hell.
Absolutely.
He does not. You can't copy his style at all. You cannot. No matter how many times you watch film and try to copy his style, you can't. It's something that you cannot replicate. Yeah, you can't. And I don't know. I think it just comes down to who gets in whose head more. To be honest, to me.
So you think that that Conor's in his head?
Oh yeah,
and you think so? You think Conor will win?
Conor wore a pinstripe suit that said "fuck you."
I don't think
it said "fuck you."
And then he said, "Don't worry about the suit. You can't read it anyways."
And then he's wearing the Golden State Warriors jersey of the guy who slept with
exactly. Of course he's getting in his head. That's what Conor does.
Yeah.
That's Conor's game. He gets into people's heads, and then he goes in and does what he does.
And there is something to be said for that. The issue that I think that is going to fall apart with the stance and everything, and him being the fighter, is that Conor's really good at hitting people from those weird angles, from that weird stance. He's got more range on him. He's taller than him. He's stronger than him. I just think that while Mayweather's got this tenure, and while he's got this history, and that's great.
No, it's not great. It is the selling point. It is the point of the whole fight.
I get you. Everybody falls, Dickie. Everybody falls. Tyson fell.
Well, no, I'm
Ali
not saying
fell.
they didn't.
All the great ones
Rocky
lose.
Marciano didn't.
Yeah. Well, okay, you're right.
You're speaking a game that you can't win here.
Most people fall, Dickie.
Yeah, a whole lot of them do.
You get punched through the window. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, unexpected why I'm singing to Bette Midler or something. I don't even remember. But.
Bette Midler.
I kind of like to. I kind of like to pride myself in the ability to see somebody in their eyes, whether or not they're doubting or a little intimidated.
Well, and that's what I do too. As a trainer of the people that I've trained, part of my job is I go from their footwork to their stance, to the twist, to if they're squared up or if they're given what angle, to their punches. If their punches are going out and coming back like they're supposed to, or if they're bicycling down. Yeah. I watch every single aspect of every part of their body. Their head movement. I watch their eyes. I watch their actions. I watch their talk and everything else before. That's what a trainer's supposed to do.
And you believe that Mayweather, coming off of the couch at 40 years old, still has what it takes to beat the height, the weight, the strength.
I think if he would have waited 10 more years, he still could have done it.
No kidding.
I really don't think that Conor has a chance to beat Mayweather. If it were in the other sport of MMA boxer against an MMA guy, just coming off of being a world champion, saying, I'm going to go beat Conor McGregor. I'm going to go to MMA, and I want him, and I want to do that, and then sit there, walk around him and tell him how tough you are and wear the right suits and everything, and try to get into his head and try to convince yourself as well as convince the fighter that you're fighting that you're the baddest man on the planet at that weight class. Not going to mean anything to that MMA guy, is he? He's going to sit there and go, I got something for you.
But you know what? You can't take an MMA guy, throw him in boxing, and say it's the same thing as throwing a boxing guy in MMA.
Why can't you?
Because the MMA is far too
faceted.
It's all encompassing. I mean, it's so many different combat
But
sports.
You can't take.
I've done them all. I know. I understand. But I can't. You're taking all that away from Conor. You're taking all that encompassing talent away from Conor and giving him one weapon.
Right.
And he's not that good at that weapon. There's a guy that says, that's working with him. They've got Pauline Malignaggi in there.
I know.
Trying to spar with him. Now, where in the world do you get Floyd Mayweather out of that?
No, you don't.
Where do you get it?
If anything, they brought him in to build up Conor's confidence.
What trainer do you... Yeah, exactly. What trainer do you bring in to get into his head and teach him the things to beat a Floyd Mayweather? What boxing trainer are you going to bring in to teach this talented young man, because I love Conor, I do, to teach this talented young man how to beat a guy that no other trainer has been able to figure out and beat? And some of the best trainers...
Some of the best fighters.
Fred Roach, Pac-Man.
Yeah.
They couldn't figure him out. Canelo, I mean, and look at his trainers and Oscar and his trainers.
That fight was shit.
The best of the best of the best. Now, that's the one that I think could have went either way.
Canelo, I mean, that made Mayweather look like shit.
You're looking at all these guys, they couldn't figure it out. So I'm wondering what sparring partner you're going to bring in. What strategist, trainer, are you going to bring in to figure Floyd's style out? And how, Conor, you're talking about him not figuring out Conor's style. How is Conor going to figure out his style? But his sport.
And I respect that. I respect that completely. But how do you figure out Tyson? He was the baddest man
with an
at the
uppercut.
time. Yeah.
You knew what he was going to do. You knew he was going to do the peekaboo.
And nobody could emulate his power. Nobody could emulate his speed, his movement. Nobody could do that. But he still got beat.
But they still figured him out. They did figure him out. And look at the guys that figured him out. I mean, Johnson training Buster Douglas told everybody, he said, his style is not that hard to figure. His power and his punch is what you have to figure, not his style. And he had Buster Douglas throwing uppercuts and right hands right over the top.
Now, going with that same, what you just said, power and technique, Conor's got it. He's got the power. He's got the power to knock him out.
He's got power to knock anybody out. But Canelo had the power to knock him out. Mosley had the power to knock him out. De La Hoya had the power to knock him out. What fighter did he fight in the last 10 years did not have the power to knock him out? And he got touched.
Yeah.
He's very durable and he's very experienced and he knows how to fight hurt. He knows how to counter the most awkward of styles. I mean,
But that aspect is where I think the age factor is going to come in.
No, I don't.
Throw a wrench into the whole mix. Okay, you're going from MMA gloves to boxing gloves, and we all know that boxing gloves are more damaging.
But we also train as MMA fighters. We don't spar in 4-ounce gloves. We spar in boxing gloves.
Well, a lot of times, but that's my point. Is that when you're in the cage versus the ring, the cage you have 4-ounce gloves.
I use 4-ounce gloves all the time. Now I'm faster.
Yeah,
and I got your comment on it.
But that's thank you. So I mean, you're going from a person that has had fight after fight after fight in the cage with 4-ounce gloves and as quick as all hell. His footwork. I mean, he angles out just as well as Mayweather, And that's where I think it's gonna change Mayweather's game, because he's not gonna be able to angle out as
but
much.
He can
or
adjust
as,
to anything as he's proven.
And I think another factor is whoever can make the other guy fight his fight.
But when you're taking McGregor's glove or his hand, throwing that, what are they going to fight in 10 ounce, or are they going to
fight in 10?
They have to.
Yeah.
So so they're going to go 10 ounce, and you put that on his hand. I mean, you're looking at a brick. I mean, seriously.
But you're putting more weight on his hand for one thing, and you're putting more padding on his hand as well. So you're taking away.
But it's been
which
proven.
would you rather be hit with, a boxing glove or an MMA glove?
MMA glove.
MMA
Really?
glove. It's the same amount of padding.
I've been hit by both, and I kind of like the boxing glove better. Maybe it's just the mental.
Now, which would I rather be wearing if I'm being hit? I'd rather be wearing the boxing glove because you can defend better with it. But
they're bigger.
It's the same amount of padding on the 4-ounce glove as
Well,
there is at
I
the tip
agree,
of that
because
thing.
the rest is up in here and stuff.
And you have to
I
wrap
understand
differently, so you can in that boxing glove. I can pad those knuckles and
that. You
make
know
a
what
brick.
I can do with a boxing glove.
Yeah, I mean, you know how to. I mean, if you have a good wrap, it doesn't matter if you're wearing 10s, 12s. It doesn't matter. I mean,
Well, that's all going to be taken into account by both camps. I don't know who Conor's got in his camp as far as training him for this, but they're training him with his martial arts guys and stuff. That would be like me training Tony to get ready for couture.
Conor's got enough money. He's bringing some. He's
Well,
got somebody
he
in there.
should
He just
be.
isn't going to be. He's not going to let it out.
I'm gonna have to see that, because I don't think he knows how to keep a secret.
I think
He
does.
enjoys
Yeah.
talking about himself too much.
But
He
when he-
But
enjoys
it's
talking
also a
about
game.
everything
It's
too
such
much.
a game.
And
Well, I
he's
know,
good at
and
it.
I know the psych part of it. I've been to the top of this mountain, and I've loved it up there because it's the same game. It's just played by better players.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That they're a little smarter on the strategy. They're a little bit different on the way they think about it. They're a little bit different on the manipulation, just like even the weigh-ins or anything else. I had a guy so mad at the weigh-ins, he was ready to fight me. And I even challenged him to come over the table, and he come off the table and everything else. We had him. We had his mind.
Yeah.
And that's what we were trying to do. So it's a lot of fun being in that position to figure these things out. But if I were asked to go in with Conor to work Mayweather, I'd say, man, I don't even see how we could do it. How much are you going to pay me? Okay, I'll come in. And I would go in, but I wouldn't even imagine that we'd have a chance.
And in the mental game, I mean, it's not even about what Conor has done. Mayweather's got shit on his mind too. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got the IRS shit going on. You know, I mean, they're throwing this world tour.
Did you see that press conference?
The world tour press conference.
He's had that going on forever, and he's handled it not once but 2 times before.
Yeah,
right?
but it's being thrown in his face in an ugly, ugly way right now.
But what's
like
even...
he carries out that every one of those world tour press conferences, he brought out that bag, and he's making everybody think that it's full of $100 bills. And Conor McGregor walked right over to it, pulled out $10,000. He's like, it's not even $10,000 in here. He's making him look like an ass. He's embarrassing him. He's talking to his people.
Well, no, he's winning that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've been out talked a lot of times, even in bars, and once I land a punch on their chin, it changes a lot of things.
Totally agree. But now you're stacking and you're stacking age, you're stacking speed, youth, on top of the mind game, on top of this, and everybody's, I mean.
I love your enthusiasm. I mean, it's so misguided, but I love it.
My favorite press conference, McGregor was just killing him. And it was finally time for Mayweather to come up to the mic. And he would say like 2 sentences, and he'd have to walk away, and he went over to his group, and then he'd come back and say some more, and then go back, because he didn't have shit to say. Like, it was the first time you ever heard Mayweather have to pause.
Let's go with the first Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier fight.
Okay.
Joe Frazier didn't say 5 words before that fight, and what happened? He kicked Muhammad's ass.
And I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, because if that was the case, then we would call the fight already now.
You can't say that Muhammad Ali didn't get into his head, calling him the gorilla and getting in and slapping him on top of the head.
Watch your mouth.
Getting him, and yeah, it wasn't the vanilla gorilla.
It was the Manila gorilla.
It was the vanilla gorilla, yeah. And doing all that and calling him names and making fun of him, making fun of his family, making fun of his kids, everything to get into his head. Look at Mike Tyson. telling Lewis
I'm gonna eat
that
your
I'm going to
children.
eat your children. I'm going to drive your bone up through your head.
I'm gonna fuck you in the ass. You like it in the ass? I'm gonna fuck